Hi, today we're going to talk about the multiple ways to escape the matrix. There are multiple ways, different ways, to experience the infinite and escape our prototype, our pattern, our controller in the matrix by forgetting who others have told us to be. The way is to remember who we are by quieting and silencing the voice in our mind that says, do this or that or do that, so we can become who we truly are in the matrix, in the consciousness. We are not controlling our mind. Our mind controls us with that voice constantly reminding us who we are, and the more we try to control it, the more it controls us. We are free from our mind by letting go and taking our own inborn process, natural path, which is always there waiting for us to realize our true self. The energy in the matrix is responding to our intentions. So most people have spiritual amnesia as they are busy collecting prizes in physical energy or are reacting to thoughts and their accolades. We all take pleasure in satisfying our desires and mental accomplishments. So they are the traps that keep us striving in the web, caught in the matrix. We inhabit a physical body and mind, so it is natural to focus on these things that trap us. But the happiness we seek is not found in the physical or mental realms. That is pleasure. Pleasure falls short of happiness, so we turn to spirituality. Then our focus shifts from being a mental, physical being to a spiritual being, expressing itself through the body or mind. The matrix instills separation with linear thinking, where the past causes the present, which brings about the future. But they are happening at the same time in eternity. The process of becoming our true self is learning to be present in eternity, in the here and now, because we get rid of the problems of separation by altering our consciousness to the unity in one consciousness. Spiritual awareness is always available, but we have a choice because we are free in the matrix. But we will usually choose the physical or mental realms where we create our confusion and pain and separation. We are not aware spiritually and deny it because our perspective shifts to the physical and mental, imagining the matrix to be reality, where we react to the separation and suffering it causes. Epictetus said, "Man is not worried about real problems, so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." The matrix does not want us to seek, know, and be our true self. So we are sent to school to align with the social order, ideals, and rules where we meet an unpleasant end product. We are programmed to listen to the scheme of those in power instead of ourselves, so we conform to titles, money, and greed, instead of learning to listen to our own voice, where we make the right choices. This does not matter. We can't go back to the beginning, so we accept it and move on. But we can alter our path going forward. We can let go of the things that no longer serve us and sap our energy to make room for what raises our health, state of being, and happiness. When we look back at what we used to do and who we were at the time, we realize that what we trusted, had faith in, and endorsed was nonsense. We realize that we did not need to be saved or rescued because we only need the insight, understanding, and awareness of who we are. The way out of the matrix is inside us, so we are not consumed to be the mechanical, robotic products of entertainment and consumption that programs our mind to desire more, so inside we program it ourselves. we find that we are more impressive than what we have been allowed to consider. So we need to expand our consciousness to new experiences and not go back to the old aspects of programmed by others. There are multiple ways to escape the matrix, to go deeper beyond the mental and physical. So we choose the dimension we want to start from, to bridge the gaps in our unity consciousness. We don't have to seek spiritual experiences because we are already spiritual beings. So it doesn't matter if we are in the physical or mental realm. It is all spiritual. It's all a spiritual experience. Thich Nhat Hanh says, we are here to awaken from the illusion of separateness. Spiritual awakening from the matrix in the material world is not a one-time deal. So it is best if we start with the talents we are good at, because they are also a spiritual practice, where we continue to find our true nature, our true self, our true nature. We enjoy and are given these talents to raise our consciousness and awareness, and they have the power to heal, because as Rumi said, at the center of our being, you have the answer. You know who you are, and you know what you want. People are not chosen to experience spiritual awareness because people become aware themselves. We can awaken from the matrix using the physical realm, the mental dimension, or the spiritual experience itself. In fact, we will have multiple awakenings from one dimension or in all three, because our mind naturally goes back to our usual beliefs and thoughts. However, once we have a spiritual experience, things and events fall into place, like footholds appear when we climb a cliff. So the spiritual experience leads us home. As we trust our soul, we become deeper, eager, and clear while waking up from our thoughts that torture us with drama, nonsense, and stories to worry about. As our consciousness reallocates to truth, our higher self understands the Christian song, Amazing Grace, that says, I was lost, but now I'm found. From all three dimensions, we can wake up to the present moment by being mindful, as the Buddhists say, or non-judgmental, as the Christians like to call it. Rumi says, as you start to walk on the way appears. On the physical plane, our experiences transpire without a flaw in order for us to awaken to the higher levels of our consciousness. Because becoming aware in this realm is not changing, but discarding who we are not. The events in the physical realm are prearranged in our soul before our body experiences the events. So that is why we get gut feelings before something happens. Therefore, we don't ignore the darkness because we can use it to develop our life. Like in photography, the darkness brings into focus a clear picture that reveals our higher self. The activities that transform the darkness around us comes to light in an appreciation of the spirit. In sports, before a big play, we take a deep breath and relax, which opens us to the spirit. The likelihood that a big play can be made and it surprises us because we looked in the right place. Our breath is one of many doorways from the physical to a spiritual experience, because deep breaths bring focus back to the now, from the ineffective thinking to the present moment. The physical is a representation of spiritual energy put across as matter or a material force. That is why alchemy takes us beyond the forms of duality to the unity of spirituality. Evelyn Underhill talks about the unity of heaven and earth. Be at peace with your own soul, then heaven and earth will be at peace with you. Eagerly enter into the treasure house that is within you, and so you will see the things that are in heaven. For there is but one single entry of them to them both. The ladder that leads to the kingdom is hidden within your soul. We have the spiritual evidence of what Underhill is saying in art, music, and dance, where consciousness is creating a spiritual manifestation from vibrations in the physical realm. We have 5 senses that allows us to create in exceptional ways. But unfortunately, we have not developed them. So hiking, gardening, experiencing nature, cooking, and many other things help us shift from the physical to the spiritual experience. We can awaken by tuning into our feelings, which help us embrace the present moment by focusing our perception on the awareness that aligns us with the universe. People who are compassionate and work selflessly in the 5th layer of the mind to help others cleanse their mind, and the body shifts their viewpoint from the material to the spiritual. Albert Einstein addressed this. The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious, the fundamental emotion which stands at the cradle of true art and true science. The path of action, sports, arts, and others previously mentioned bring us to the present moment, a door from the physical to the spiritual. But not everyone is physical, so we have the path of knowledge. We can use our mind as a path to liberation by calming it and using it on a path of knowledge. On the other hand, we can use it to propagate our limited ego, getting lost in the lower knowledge that chases after desires. The higher knowledge helps us to overcome our desires and realize our true identity. Therefore, we need to observe our mind and center ourselves to be liberated. This requires us to cultivate the knowledge that leads to awareness, wisdom, and detachment, because contentment does not come from our objects or titles accumulated, but only what we think. As we restrain the influence of our desires, we realize our true nature transcending our limited self. We gain serenity, detachment, and our true purpose or objective, which is a natural high. We become conscious that we are individual streams of consciousness originating from a common source. In Christianity, we call the individual stream of consciousness our soul, radiating from the supreme consciousness we call God. Therefore, ultimately, when we go deeper, we are all one in God. This alters our way of thinking, so we don't dwell on our problems because they are created in the matrix of separation. So having knowledge of unity allows the collective consciousness, to emerge. God is not a being outside us, but the consciousness that created everything, that is in everything, because everything was created out of it. A Sufi proverb says, I searched for God and found only myself. I searched for myself and found only God. This higher knowledge leads to liberation and is embraced through meditation, contemplation, centering prayer, mindfulness, and detachment from pride, ego, lust, and desires for material things. Swami Vivekananda says, you have to grow from the inside out. None can teach you. None can make you spiritual. There is no other teacher but your own soul. This knowledge comes through the observation of our thoughts, as we let the stream of consciousness from our soul live life through us, influencing our health, comfort, and happiness. We don't resist the adjustments and transformations that come our way, or the ups and downs the matrix pushes on us, because, as the Dalai Lama says, happy people build their inner world, unhappy people blame their outer world. Joseph Campbell talks about the consciousness of the mystic in the one ocean of consciousness. And he says, the schizophrenic is drowning in the same waters in which the mystic swims with delight. The personal spiritual experience or launching to higher knowledge is not acquired because it is beyond the mind. So the experience is built in and is deeply rooted in each one of us. We are liberated from the body by immersing ourselves in the present moment and from the mind by overcoming our ignorance. In the soul, there is no learning, so it is experienced by remembering or returning to the original stream of consciousness. To escape the matrix, we have to realize that we are not the body or the voice of the mind, but the being that observes both body and mind. That's how we escape the matrix. And the reason why is because sensory knowledge and our knowledge in memory is temporary, fundamentally inconsistent, conflicting, and unreliable as an expression of pointless chaos. As we disband from the matrix, our ego fades, so we are not thinking about love, but our love. As we don't become the spirit, we expose the flawed knowledge of the matrix, our attachments to it in order to remember we have always been the spirit. We automatically return to pure consciousness and make a complete transition to the divinity within, as Jesus preached. Or as Yoda said, train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose. The objective is not to gain control of the matrix, but to stop letting the matrix control our thoughts, feelings, and senses. The matrix tells us to pray to God. Instead, our spirit says, open your arms and embrace God as an unconfined force field, so we don't have to beg God to do things for us. We instead participate with God in the force field to do those things ourselves, as Jesus said in 14:12, that we will do even greater things than he did. God is not separate from us, but in the things we do, such as sports, arts, science, and in everything, raising our consciousness and awareness. Evolution expands our consciousness to see the universe as our temple, where we come from the whole and belong to it. The matrix projects only shadows of what we are, and it can't be pushed away. We can't discard it or run from it, but we can observe it by being mindful, not attached, but just observing our breath and quieting our mind. Meditation is observing, letting go, not evaluating, judging, or reacting to the matrix, just flowing with the life force that connects us all by flowing through the matrix. Jimi Hendrix said, knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. Thank you.